a phone, and an internet communicator. An iPod, a phone. Are you getting it? These are not three separate devices. This is one device. And we are calling it iPhone.
First introduced to the world in 2007, Apple's iPhone has become one of the world's most successful products of all time. 17 years and 42 models later, iPhone has made it into the hands of billions of people, redefining the meaning of a phone. This is the story of iPhone and how it changed the mobile phone industry. Apple was founded in 1976 by Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak. Today, it's a household name and one of the world's most valuable companies, valued at a whopping $3 trillion. But it started with humble beginnings. In 1985, Steve Jobs was ousted by Apple after a power struggle between himself and another executive. However, he later rejoined the company in 1997, looking to save it from financial ruin. Apple was almost going bankrupt and bills were piling up quickly.
Since the very first Macintosh. So please join with me now and welcome, from Apple Computer, Steve Jobs.
One of the first products to go was Apple's Newton, the company's failed attempt at a handheld device. Apple didn't want to touch anything mobile. It was basically a Mac line. Steve Jobs' first efforts were to revamp the Mac line, and he did manage to turn around the company's fortunes with iMac and iPod. In 1998, Apple was doing $6 billion annually, but after iMac came out, the revenue grew tremendously. By 2001, Apple's annual revenue had declined to $5 billion. Apple attempted to reinvent itself by introducing the iPod, a portable digital music player. iPod marked the first venture into mobile and consumer electronics, and it was widely successful. The majority of Apple's growth from 2001 to 2007 was fueled by iPod. In the early 2000s, Nokia 3310 was one of the world's best-selling phones. The Finnish company was leading in the mobile phone manufacturing industry and was way ahead of its competitors. But then in January 2007, Apple shocked the world with a groundbreaking announcement. The unveiling of iPhone, and Apple partnered exclusively with AT&T, selling its first iPhone for $499.
iPhone.
Rich DeMiro with CNET TV in New York City at the Apple Store, where the iPhone is set to launch later today at 6 o'clock. Right now it's about 4:50 in the afternoon. Yesterday when we were here, there were about 19 people waiting in line for this phone. Today, as you can see, hundreds more, all waiting for this brand new device. You paid $500 to secure a spot in this line.
No, just come and sit here.
The announcement was received with mixed reactions, with industry veterans and competitors being skeptical. Steve Ballmer, who at the time was the CEO of Microsoft, was one of the people that expressed skepticism whether iPhone would ever sell well. Apple sold over 1.4 million iPhones in 2007, whereas, in the same year, Nokia sold 435 million mobile phones. In the late 1990s and early 2000s, Nokia dominated the mobile phone market, seeming unstoppable and unbeatable. They shipped a large number of devices and were extremely successful. Many investors believed that with Nokia's strength and market share at that time, it would be very difficult for Apple to penetrate into the mobile phone market. While the initial sales of the iPhone were underwhelming when it first launched, there was one aspect of the phone that would dramatically change its future success: the Apple Store.
So, you're a developer and you've just spent 2 weeks or maybe a little bit longer writing this amazing app, and what is your dream? Your dream is to get it in front of every iPhone user, and hopefully they love it and buy it, right? That's not possible today. Most developers don't have those kinds of resources. Even the big developers would have a hard time getting their app in front of every iPhone user. Well, we're going to solve that problem for every developer, big to small. And the way we're going to do it is what we call the App Store.
The 2008 launch of the App Store ultimately led to the demise of dominant companies like BlackBerry, whose products didn't offer similar integrations. It also spurred a new wave of modern tech companies while putting Apple ahead of its competitors. Now, it was possible to download any app of your choice into your phone. The App Store was the ingredient traditional phone manufacturers missed, and they never saw it coming. In the years following the introduction of App Store, Apple's iPhone sales took off tremendously. In 2011, with the release of the iPhone 4 and its new operating system, Apple reached a milestone by selling over 50 million iPhones in a single year for the first time. And by 2015, Apple was selling an astounding 200 million iPhone units annually. The App Store was a huge thing, and Google's Android pivoted by introducing the Play Store.
It's the company that promised to change the world. Today, it's iPhones and other products the center of life on the go. Now, Apple making history as the world's first trillion-dollar company.
In 2018, 10 years after launching the App Store, Apple became the first US company to reach a valuation of $1 trillion. Today, iPhones remain immensely popular, boasting around 1.46 billion active users and holding about 29% of the global market share. In the US, Apple commands a 61% market share. Though specific sales figures are no longer reported, estimates suggest over 2.3 billion iPhones have been sold to this date. The App Store innovation and subsequent iPhone models catapulted Apple into record-breaking success over the past decades.
Let's meanwhile note that Apple just hit the $3 trillion mark in total market cap. This is the first $3 trillion company trading in the U.S., probably trading in the world.
14 years later, in August 2022, Apple became the first company to reach a market valuation of $3 trillion. And for the first time, Apple has surpassed Samsung as a smartphone leader, holding 29% of the global market share. But Samsung is not far behind with a slightly above 23% market share. It's a position Samsung previously held since 2010. Samsung is still Apple's biggest competitor, continuously innovating and launching new products like foldables. However, Apple's large, loyal customer base and high profit margin mean it's one of the most profitable companies in the world. And what's next for the tech giant? Apple is continuously investing in AI and machine learning. In Q3 of 2023, Apple increased its expenditure on research and development to $22.6 billion. It has also acquired several AI startups in recent years, gaining access to talent and expertise. All these efforts to remain on top. Apple remains to be one of the most innovative companies globally, and I can't think of a scenario where its ecosystem can be disrupted. It has taken over much of our personal lives, but nobody knows what the future beholds. What do you think of Apple's success and its position in the mobile market industry? Share your thoughts on the comment section below. Like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, bye-bye.